10 o'clock, Your Worship.
Thank you. Good morning and welcome. I call this special council meeting November the 15th, 10 a.m. 2022 to order, and to acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of the Chehalis. This special council meeting is a result of a request by Councillor Facio and Councillor Vidal under section 126 of the community charter to discuss, quote, the concerns of administration. Section 126 reads as follows. 126, section 2, two or more council members may, in writing, request that the mayor call a special council meeting. Section 3, subsection 3, two or more council members may themselves call a special council meeting if A, within 24 hours of receiving the request under subsection 2, no arrangements are made under subsection 1 for a special council meeting to be held within the next 7 days. Councillor Facio and Councillor Vidal requested a closed special meeting, of which was denied for the following. Under the Municipal Act, section 188, section 1, the mayor is the head and the chief executive officer of the municipality. Section 2A, to see that the law for the improvement and good government of the municipality is carried out. A closed meeting runs contrary to the principles of openness, transparency, and accountability, as per the legal framework for open and closed meetings per the Office of the Ombudsman. The community charter. The meetings that must be closed to the public. Section 90. A part of a meeting, quote, may be closed to the public. Section 90.2, a part of a council meeting must be closed to the public. As the subject matter is, quote, the concerns in administration, it clearly doesn't fall under section 90.2 of what must be closed, and is even questionable if it meets 90.1 of what may be open. Two very different meanings, must and may, with must being exactly as it says, must, and may is optional. No reasonable thinking person would consider administration to be an adequate description of a purpose of a meeting. And of course, by discussing items in closed meetings automatically gags all of council from discussing in public. I work for the public. I am their voice, and they have concerns of our administration, which I have publicly stated. It is vital that these concerns be held in the public and not closed meetings unless absolutely necessary. I quote from an article in our municipal lawyers' fall newsletter. The democratic legitimacy of municipal decisions does not spring solely from periodic elections, but also from a decision-making process that is transparent, accessible to the public, and mandated by law. When a municipal government improperly acts with secrecy, this undermines the democratic legitimacy of its decision. As your new mayor, I will ensure that closed meetings that should not be closed are in fact open, and to see that the law for the improvement and good government of the municipality is carried out. A closed meeting runs contrary to the principles of openness, transparency, and undermines the public confidence in government. Due to changing events in the last 24 hours and the fact that a notice of a closed or special meeting must be given at least 24 hours in advance. However, notice of a special council meeting may be waived by anonymous vote of all council members, section 127. Before holding a meeting that is closed, the council must, by resolution passed in an open meeting, state the fact that the meeting or part of the meeting will be closed and the basis on which it will be closed as set out in section 90. Meetings that may or must be closed to the public, 90, section 1. A part of a council meeting may be closed to the public if the subject matter being considered relates to or is one of the following. Section A. Personnel information about a identifiable individual who hold or is being considered for a position as an officer. employee or agent of the municipality or another position appointed by the municipality. I therefore move that we proceed to a closed meeting to discuss the employment or any officer, employee's employment, which is pursuant to section 90-1-A immediately at the close of today's special open council meeting. Do I have a seconder?
No seconder, your worship, the motion fails.
Your worship, I don't understand what you're getting at.
I'm trying
I
to.
don't, I want to just have a clear understanding of what you're saying.
What I'm moving is to proceed now to, at the end of this meeting, is to proceed to a closed council meeting with relation to subsection 90-1-A.
What would be the purpose of this?
Or
The council has not had an opportunity, your worship, to even get into anything. We're sitting around a new table here, and I don't want this council to get off to a bad start. I ran for election on a program to do the better for Harrison, not to get involved in right at the very beginning on matters that need a lot of discussion. And I think, we're jumping the gun here. I'm not getting this house settled. We have two new councillors on here, haven't been on here for a while, and a new mayor. And we need to support each other. I really believe that this particular time is not the time to do it. We need some time to consolidate our information. Thank you.
I repeat that this request to go into a closed meeting was initiated by Councillor Facio and Councillor Fidel. I am just moving that we do in fact move into the closed meeting. Does that help? I'm sorry.
Mr. Mayor,
I'm
if I may, thank you. First of all, shouldn't we be doing the approval of the agenda before we get into any discussion on this or not?
Would the corporate officer like to speak?
Yes, your worship, through you to Councillor Facio. There is no order of the order of business for a special council meeting doesn't provide for items for discussion. That's the way that the agenda has been set up. So until we move forward, I won't know how the approval of the agenda is going to play out here.
Thank you. If I may carry on, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. This, as you quite rightly said a few minutes ago, you refused our request to go in council originally. So I want this, I would like this verbal report from Councillor Vidal and myself to be removed from the agenda.
Are you moving that motion?
Yes.
Seconded.
Thank you.
Seconded by Councillor Vidal. Discussion. Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor? Unanimous. Motion passes.
Your worship, may I? Now we could pass a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Do I have approval?
So moved.
So to the corporate officer, the next order of business.
Yes, your worship, you can call the question on the approval of the agenda as amended.
Can you help me on that?
Certainly, just call the question on the motion for approval of the agenda as amended.
Call the question.
So moved.
Thank you.
Next order of business, please.
Yes, your worship. Failing no other items on the agenda this morning, we'll move on to question period pertaining to agenda items only.
Yes, Councilor.
Mr. Mayor, sorry, I was waiting for the introduction of late items. It never got read out. I would like to add something before we go to the questions from the public. And
Excuse me, your worship, through you to Councillor Buckley, the mayor can ask for late items as pursuant to this council procedure bylaw.
Yeah, I couldn't hear that too well. Sorry. Could you repeat that, please?
Sorry, just for clarification, for special council meetings, there on the order of business, there is no new business. And only the mayor can request late items to be included on the agenda.
Councillor Buckley, you're asking for late items to be added to the agenda. Go ahead.
that's correct.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. What I would like to do at this time is direct staff, if we could, to get the seasonal operations costs, a breakdown on hourly maintenance costs, and time spent on the maintenance of our outdoor skating rink. Everything attributed to the cost of operating and running it, I guess, would be my concern. And I'll leave it at that.
Excuse me, your worship, may I? If Councillor Buckley wishes to add something new business to an agenda, I would suggest that he do that at the regular council meeting where that is provided.
Yes, I agree. Let's bring that back. Thank you. Next order of business.
Yes, your worship. Question period pertaining to agenda items only.
Morning, Mr. Mayor, Council. John Allen, 398 Hot Springs Road. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the explanation about the calling of this meeting. I would like to ask why the community charter was not followed properly in calling of the meeting. And again, you gave us an explanation of section 90. But section 126 and 127 contains that magic mandatory word must. And it specifies very clearly that if a special meeting is going to be called, the notice of that meeting must be signed by the mayor. Notices appeared at the village office this weekend. They were not signed by the mayor as required by law. From your explanation, the meeting was in fact appears to have been called by Councillors Facio and Vidal. In that case, the notice of a special meeting must be signed by the corporate secretary. None of the notices that have been posted at the village office, at the post office, or here at Memorial Hall contain the necessary signature. So when you don't follow the legislation and you don't provide proper notice, that means that the meeting that you have held this morning has been held ultra vires, which is just a big lawyer word for illegally. In the absence of proper notice and proper procedure being followed, this meeting this morning hasn't really happened at law because of the fact that proper notice was not provided. And the proper notice quite clearly, and I can read the section for you if you like.
Mr. Mayor.
Section
point of
1.
Order, please.
Section 127 says the notice under section 2
Let's let him continue.
must include the date, time, and place of the meeting, describe in general terms the purpose of the meeting, and be signed by the mayor or corporate officer. Must. It never happened. The meeting is illegal. My question is, why was this not done? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Would the corporate officer like to respond?
Certainly, Mr. Mayor. Since 2005, I'm not aware of any of the agendas being signed. Certainly, if this council wishes the agendas to be signed moving forward, I can certainly do that.
Thank you.
I'm not asking for the agendas to be signed. A notice of meeting, which is a separate document from the agenda, must be prepared, must be signed by the mayor or the corporate officer, and must be posted in the regular places, in addition to being delivered to the council members. So I'm not asking for agendas to be signed. I'm asking for a notice. There was no notice. An agenda was posted at the village office, but there was no notice. The notice does not exist, and the notice must exist in order for this meeting to be a legal meeting. The meeting is illegal. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Your Worship. If I may, just for council's information, the Village of Harrison Hot Springs agenda is a notice of meeting and agenda.
Thank you. Thank you, Counselor.
Good evening, Ray Hooper, former council member of Harrison Hot Springs. I popped in today because it was the first meeting that your worship was going to hold. But I'm disappointed that the two councillors that called the meeting aren't prepared to discuss what the meeting was about in public. This is
Point of order, your worship. There is no question.
Well, my question is, why have they withdrawn this? The question is, why was it withdrawn? Is it because they didn't want it to be held in public? So that's my question. If any of the two councils would like to answer that, I'd be quite happy.
Counselor Facio. Counselor Vidal.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Is there anyone on Zoom? Thank you. I call for adjournment. And seconder? Call the question, all in favor? No.
Thank you.
The meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming.